understood of the world, going away was what normal Americans did. It was 1969, and my family was living in a subsidized housing project in Upper Manhattan, in a neighborhood whose only claim to fame at the time was that its crime and gang warfare had been sufficient enough to inspire the hit Broadway musical West Side Story. At Silver Lake, not only would we be taking a real summer vacation, but, according to my mother, there was even the slight possibility I'd get to be in a movie. Apparently, she knew a filmmaker there named Alice Fernald who had been casting around for kids. To call Silver Lake a resort would be an exaggeration. It was a summer colony founded by socialists, people either too exhausted from manual labor or too unfamiliar with it to care much about landscaping. Small bungalows had simply been built on plots of land, then left to recede back into the woods around them. Dirt roads led to the eponymous lake, which shimmered mirror-like at the start of each summer before deteriorating into a green porridge of algae by late August. The community's one concession to civilization was the barn, an old red farm building used as a recreation center. Otherwise, Mother Nature had been pretty much left to do her thing, as the colonists liked to say. For a kid, Silver Lake presented infinite ways to inflict yourself on this natural world, and my new friends quickly schooled me in a range of distinctly ungirly pleasures. Our parents might have been sitting cross-legged on the grass, nodding along to the young bloods. "Come on, people now, smile on your brother." But we had ants to incinerate and decapitate, worms to smush, frogs to stalk, fireflies to take hostage, caterpillars to outwit, slugs to poke at with a stick, berries to pulverize with a rock, and dead moles to dig up in the garden and fling around the kitchen moments before lunch. We discovered that if we scraped reddish soil from the side of a mound by the lake, then mixed it with water, we got a terrifically sloppy maroon-colored mess. It stained our clothes, and the teenagers called it bloody muddy. So, of course, we were determined to play with it as much as possible. It was like the caviar of mud. Better yet was the 4 o'clock arrival of the ice cream man. I suspect the London Blitz generated less hysteria and mayhem. As soon as we heard the bells on the Good Humor truck jiggling up the road, every single kid under the age of 12 went insane. "Ice cream!" we shrieked. Dashing out of the water, we raced over to our parents, snatched money out of their hands before they could finish saying, "And get a creamsicle for your father, please," then zoomed up the hill barefoot and screaming. It wasn't so much the ice cream man arriving as the ice cream messiah. In Silver Lake, I romped through my days in a state of semi-delirium, fully at home in the world, happy in my skin. Twirling and somersaulting in the sunlit lake, I was an Olympic gold medalist. I was the queen of water ballet. I was a weightless, shining goddess with nose plugs and a lime green danskin bathing suit that kept falling off my shoulders and riding up my butt. I spent my days yelling, "Mom, Mom, Mom, look at this, look at this," then doggy paddling around the kiddie pen like a maniac. Yet, like most idyllic things, Silver Lake seemed to exist in this state only to serve as a backdrop for some pending and inevitable craziness. And that's where Alice Fernald and her movie camera came in. Alice Fernald was known in the colony as an artiste with a capital A. While other mothers walked around in flip-flops and rubbery bathing suits, Alice wore ruffled pencil skirts and platform shoes and white peasant blouses knotted snugly between her breasts. Whenever she chewed gum, which was pretty much all of the time, everything on her jiggled. I called her the Chiquita Banana Lady, and I meant this as a compliment. Who didn't want to look adorable with a pile of fruit on her head? One night, Alice called a meeting at the barn. "As you might know," she announced, "I'm planning to shoot a film here in Silver Lake." Its title was going to be Camp, she said. If she meant this ironically, she seemed unaware of it. Camp will star a number of people here in the colony, including... Alice stopped chewing her gum and looked pointedly at me and my friend Edward Yitzkowitz. At that moment, I was busy inventing a way to hang upside down from the bench while chewing on a plastic necklace. Edward was shredding the rim of a styrofoam cup with his teeth. Including, Alice cleared her throat, some of our very own children. Edward, Alice called across the barn. Like many of the colonists, Alice had a thick Brooklyn accent. She pronounced Edward not Edward, but Edwid. In fact, most of the colonists, including Edward's own Brooklyn-born mother, Carly, and thus Edward himself, pronounced Edward Edwid. For years, I believed that was his real name, Edwid Yitzkowitz. Only when we were grown up and I bumped into him in the East Village did he inform me that his real name was Edward, or had been Edward. Sick of the wimpiness it implied, sick of its syllabic bastardization, he'd gone ahead and changed his name legally to Steve. Edward, little Susie Gilman, Alice called across the barn. How would you two like to be in a real, live movie? Her voice had all the forced and suspicious cheerfulness of a proctologist. It was the voice grown-ups used whenever they wanted to coax children into doing something that they themselves would never do in a million years unless ordered to by a judge. But I was more than willing to overlook this. At that moment, I felt only the white-hot spotlight of glory and attention shining down on me. It felt like butterscotch, like whipped cream and sprinkles. I nodded frantically. Of course I wanted to be in a movie. The truth was, until Silver Lake, the year had not gone terribly well for me. Sure, the Vietnam War was going on, and Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King had recently been shot. But as far as I was concerned, there was only one national trauma worth paying attention to: the birth of my baby brother. Not only did John's arrival demolish my status as an only child, but he was handily the cutest baby in all of recorded history. Decked out in his red pom-pom hat and his pale blue blankie, he was the traffic stopper of the West 93rd Street playground set. Other mothers abandoned their carriages by the monkey bars. "Oh, my God, he is gorgeous!" they'd squeal, pushing past me to poke their heads under the hood of his stroller. "Does he model?" I, on the other hand, was cute only in the way any 4-year-old is cute. Big eyes, boo-boos on the knee, the requisite lisp. But my face was round as an apple, my tummy even more so. I was not too young, I quickly discovered, to have adults declare open season on my weight. If anything, my brother's adorableness seemed to compel them to point out my unattractiveness in comparison. It was as if there was only a finite amount of cuteness in the world, and my brother had used up our quota. "Oh, your little girl, she's so chubby," bellowed the obese Ukrainian woman who ran the KB discount department store where my mother bought my health tech's clothing wholesale. "I think she drank too much Hi-C," the teacher's aide at my nursery school suggested. "Her face, it get fat." My teacher, Celeste, was herself a genuine sadist. This was made clear to me the very first day of nursery school when she led our class in a game of Simon Says designed to inflict flesh wounds. Simon says, poke yourself in the eye. Simon says, hit yourself on the head with a Lincoln log. Stick a crayon up your nose. Whoops! I didn't say Simon Says now, did I, Juan? "Well, Susie certainly does like cookie time," Celeste informed my mother with a naked, malicious glee. "And let's face it, she's not doing herself any favors. Have you considered taking her to a doctor?" Halfway through the school year, I lay down in front of the door to my classroom and shrieked until my mother promised to take me home. So there I was, the Upper West Side's first bona fide nursery school dropout. But now, Edward and I were going to be movie stars. "We're going to be in a movie," we sang on the ice cream line the next afternoon. As any kid knows, it's not just that good things should happen to you, but that